Hey folks, welcome back. Today we're grabbing some low-hanging fruit. We're going to try to do this before it gets too hot out. We're in the middle of the scorcher, the opposite of the polar vortex. So whatever that is. Hotter than mother lover out there. Anyhow, we got a 2019 Mazda. It's a big CX-5. I don't know what motor's in it. It's huge. Post-catalyst fuel trim too lean. Came in, customer complaint, money lights on. Post-catalyst fuel trim too lean. Immediately, as soon as I started it, you can hear an exhaust leak, especially when you start it cold. You can really hear an exhaust leak underneath. So I thought, let's investigate that first, see what its proximity is to the rear O2 sensor, because this is super important. And I'll be dipped. Rear O2 sensor is right here, right on this side of the pipe. There's wires for it. And here's the big old exhaust leak. I think this gasket's blowed out. And for whatever reason, I never noticed it was missing the rubber donger, so it probably needs one of those as well. What I did is I called Mazda. I got the new studs, both these nuts, and the new gasket. So let's see if we can't get this thing spun out of there, grab a quick and easy repair. Is this the answer to this car? I don't know. Is it something that needs to be fixed before we start looking at post-catalyst fuel trim problems? 100%. So I did buy the whole studs as I mentioned. So we're gonna try to keep the nut locked up on there. Keep it locked right to the stud and see if we can't spin the whole thing out. Try to get something beat on there that will grip. We're getting smaller. Let me go grab the next size smaller. That one's not looking like it's going to cooperate. Maybe let's start on this side over here. See if this side wants to cooperate. Okay, this side feels like she's grippy. Let's grab the torch and get up in here with this joint. All right, let's grab the torch here. First time today. Gotta get your hoses purged out. There we go, boys. Now she's cooking. Let's see what holds this stud in. There's a nut here on the backside, welded nut. We got a glower. There it is. There's one. So what we'll have to do, because that came out pretty easy. See if we can't stick, get something beat on the other side. Like I say, because these are both tin flanges on the backside there's a nut that's welded. Well, spider! There's a nut that's welded, and that's what we heated. Try going down a size from where we were. Oh, maybe. I don't know. There's not much left to this side over here. Yeah, she might grip good enough. That's a negative. So what I'm using, in case you're wondering, so these are the Mac Tools RBRT sockets, rounded bolt something. I don't remember, the acronym's too long and there's too many to remember. I think the company that makes them now is called Grip Edge. They use like flow green and black foam and stuff, I think is all their colors. Dan, the RBRT guy, which I think is under the company name of Grip Edge now. Could be wrong. If it's not, boy, they look awful darn the same. Awful darn the same, he says. They look awful darn the same, y'all. I married my cousin. Let's see if we can use a standard. Oh, bad idea, fella. These are just stud extractors. So I get something on that stud. I don't know if she'll roll enough to catch it. Probably not. What a ding dong. Well, let me see if I can't knock it up on there a little further. The rust makes these things a little more difficult to use. I suppose we could just vice grip it at the end of the day. There we go. That's gonna be grippy enough. Let's light this candle. We got her, boys. Ooh, that one fell in my pocket, right in my boob. Whoa, burning a hole in my shirt. Whew, there we are. There's that one. There's that, there's that. So what I would do, there's a little bit of crusties on the side of the back side of this flange. A little similar to this one. I'm gonna show you a trick Meemaw taught me. Oh, Meemaw, always teaching us things, huh, Nessa? What are you up to? You need some kisses and hugs? Or what'd you come out here for?
Say hi.
Oh yeah? Let me pause this for a minute. Easiest way to get rid of old gasket and scaly rust. Just heat her up with a torch and it'll all snap, crackle, pop right off there. Come around your flange. See how she's curling up around there? Instead of trying to get in there with a whizzy wheel or anything like that, come around with a torch, just heat up. And that's all you gotta do. All that loose rust and stuff, it'll all flake right off there, no problem. Then everything else will kind of flake right off there. No sweat. Just take your brush, just kind of brush your shoulders off. Perfect. Yeah, when you're heating that up with a torch, keep your face back, put your goggles on. Your safety squints, because that stuff pops and cracks and snaps. And feels like little needles hitting you. Dang, spiders are all over for this car. They had the daddy long legs on my face. Okay, brand new gasket from Mazda. There's that bad boy. There's what she looks like. And we had the studs. They didn't have the part number on those, so. These old guys here. That little guy right there. Okay. Looks like she's gonna fit. Ah, great. Great. Well, now we're screwed. I wonder I had to beat it on there. It wasn't even the right size. 10 mil studs. That's kind of a silly repair, but this is also something you guys need to look for. Probably should wait for this thing to cool down. If you're dealing with post-catalyst fuel trim issues, honestly, the #1 cause for them, unless it's a Chevrolet, is, you know, a leak in the rear O2 or near the rear O2. If it's a GM, it needs new injectors. It's sometimes but not always case, or I should say most of the time but not always case. So we'll get these studs spun in here. This is a stud installer. We'll get a 1/2-inch drive. Alright, there's that. And then we have both of these nuts. Put them out of the back here. There they are. That's it. Easy peasy. I'm going to call down a napper. Let's see if they got a rubber here for us. We got a socket. Be a classic 14 mil. Now these are lock nuts, so they're gonna go kind of hard, just FYI. There it is, little son. All we have to do now is let it down, push the button, go like this, see if we feel any leaks. However, we will answer the age-old question of, but Rocco, I use a smoke machine in my shop. That's awesome. I do too, for finding exhaust leaks. Super handy. Unless the leak is past the converter and you've had the car running. And I don't care if it's been running for 10 seconds. Your smoke machine will not put a lick of smoke up there. It'll put air pressure, obviously. Let's not be ridiculous. But the second that this cat has any heat in it whatsoever, you start it up, drive it in from the parking lot, unless it sits in your bay for at least an hour or more, you will not see any smoke get past the converter. And that's just a matter of fact. I've tried to use the smoke machine numerous times on cars that I've just started up and pulled in very quickly, shut off, let sit for 10 minutes, get them on the lift. Nothing. He'll be smoking back here by the muffler, out of the pee holes, any leaks in the back, but anything ahead of the converter, especially if it's a maniverter, you will not see smoke until the converter completely cools off. So the option there is you can use, you can adapt your leaf blower to the tailpipe or the exit of your shop vac, just stick the hose up there, stick it on the exit, and then spray stuff down with soapy water. But oftentimes when we're using a smoke machine, we're looking for a leak up on the manifold. Is the manifold cracked, in the collector or anything like that? Or is there really small leaks, around O2 sensor bungs, stuff like that? I guess all I'm saying is my advice would be, if you're gonna do that, use a smoke machine. Absolutely, fantastic. Gives you great visual representation. It gives you, air pressure to put, soapy water on. But do it when it's stone cold, and I mean sitting for hours and hours and hours, like super cold, ice cold. Should be good. Don't hear anything coming out of the flex. Of course, this camera is going to make it sound horrendous. That's where all our squealing's coming from. About that frequency home noise, but as soon as the app is done updating over there on the Altel, we're going to look at the downstream O2. Didn't pay much attention to it initially. Just because the problem seems quite obvious on this car, at least for right now. Okay, here we go, folks. Cruising steady here down the main street. Looked like the rear O2 took off there. Like I said, I don't put a lot of stock in understanding, rear O2 strategy, fueling strategies for vehicles, idling versus driving. They're, like I say, I'm not trying to make excuses, but they're often very different. And if you try to put them all in one box, like, well, a car should do this, you're gonna get burned. I would say, typically, cruising down the road, steady throttle, on the flat, anything like that. anything except going downhill. I would say the rear converter typically will light off and hold pretty steady around, 5 to 700 millivolts. So we're gonna get going here and just kind of cruise. We're gonna be stuck behind this truck, but like I said, we'll just get up to regular cruising speed here, about 55, and see if that rear O2 just stays lit off. I guess you go over and see, make sure the cat stays functioning and the rear O2 functions. Like here, it's probably going to drop lean because there's, a slight, decrease in the road here, a little bit of a downhill. I guess a decrease in grade is the word I was looking for. And the other thing you could do too, when you get this code, this post-catalyst fuel trim, besides, the obvious, looking for exhaust leak, is service bulletins. Are there any TSBs on it? I'm guilty. I did not look to see if Mazda had any bulletins on it, which I'll probably do when I get back to the shop. But the exhaust leak was so obvious, I didn't really look beyond that. There was a little decrease in grade right there, a little sag in the road too, and you can see that, clear as day. And then obviously, if I let off the throttle here, it'll drop right lean. And then we get back on the throttle, and up she goes. All right, well, it looks like that rear O2 is working, so I'm going to pull over here, get spun around. So, well, you can see sitting here now at an idle in gear, how that's come back up. Maybe now that the cat's warmed up, see our equivalency ratio is running near 1, which is good. Is that their ding radio that's on? Let me turn this thing off. Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought it was the heater making noise. It's radio. Yeah, and we can see the rear O2 just sitting here idling in gear. Now, sometimes you take a car, you'll put it in park, and that whole strategy will change, and that rear O2 will drop right to nothing. Just seeing what this one's doing. But in either case, situation like this, what I'm doing, or what I told my customer, because it's a regular customer, they bought this car, it's a collision car, the money light's on. I said, why don't we do this? Let's fix that rear gasket, clear the codes, and ship it, and see what happens. I said, there's no sense in putting a lot of time into it. Now, if we fix that gasket, we have the exhaust leaks cleared up the best that we can tell without getting out a smoke machine and soapy water and all that stuff. We fix the obvious problem glaring us in the face. Let's do that, clear the code, take it, drive it. They're local. They live close by, and I think that's the best option. Let's not put a lot of time into it. Different customer from out of town, or has a longer travel time, something like that, probably put a little more time into it to be super definitive. I know that might sound silly to some of you folks, but that's how I would like to do it. So that's it. Tell me how you like to do it in that comment section. Look for us on the Insta, the Facebook, and just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.